everyone, and welcome to Talent Talks. Today I am joined by Lara Cullen. So thank you, Lara, very much for joining us. As you know, Talent Talks is around engaging with key professionals like yourself with the intention of sharing your knowledge and expertise on a specific topic to our HR network. So I'm delighted that you could join us. I felt that this was a really timely session after Saturday, which was World Mental Health Day, and I thought, bearing in mind the work that we're doing, it'd be good to get you on this. So thank you so much for joining. Before I get started, why don't you tell us a little bit more about you and what you do?
Okie dokie. So thank you so much for having me. It's really lovely to be chatting to you. I'm Lara Cullen. I'm an executive coach and a trainer, and I run a business called The People Person. And when people typically think of a people person, they often think of somebody who's very extroverted and sociable and charismatic, someone who likes to be around other people, which is all well and good, but it's quite limited in my view. So what's really, really powerful instead is when people know how to and then do get the best out of themselves and others. So that's what we do as a people person through coaching, training and consultancy. And then earlier this year, so in March time, like for a lot of people, when a lot of my business kind of fell away because people were no longer doing face-to-face training and coaching took a bit of a backseat as well, I decided to put together everything that I'd learned as a coach and through my own training and experience and studies, and also in my previous career as a HR director, on what makes people genuinely happy and successful, and developed a methodology and a model called the Bring Model, which is based on 3 key ways to be, which is be kind, be brave, be brilliant, and then in the context of ourselves and others and environment. So that's the program that we're on now, and you're a part of that program.
The reason I thought about yourself is obviously we're talking so much about well-being at the moment. It's quite fun, and there's a word we hear a lot about, which you've already mentioned, and to be honest, it's much to my happiness because I love it, and it's about kindness. And the role kindness not only plays in our day-to-day life but also in leadership. And obviously you've already shown us the model, and be kind is a key part of that. So tell me a bit about your thought process around being kind being such a key program.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think you're right. It's being said a lot at the moment. And to be honest, that comes with a lot of really obvious positives and also some drawbacks. So the positives are that it's causing us to look twice at ourselves and to really hold this mirror up to ourselves when it comes to how we treat people, what we expect from them, and how compassionate we are. And the watch out is that it gets a bit overused and that people can get a bit fatigued by it, or it becomes a bit preachy. So I was really conscious of that when making it a part of the methodology in the program. So in the Bring model, there's 4 elements to it. There's be compassionate, be well, belong, and be resilient. And, we need to be kind to ourselves in order to be able to reach our potential and to have maximum impact, to relate positively to other people, and then to extend that to others so that they can too. So treating people, including ourselves as humans, recognizing the factors that go into well-being, prioritizing those, and making sure that we've got really positive social relationships and cultures of inclusivity. So it's pretty important. It's pretty comprehensive. It's pretty comprehensive, but it's so important that there really was nowhere else to start.
Well, when you think about those key elements as a leader, that is so important as well. Yeah. So that all makes perfect sense. We talk about, kindness in leadership, and, when it comes to supporting employees with their mental health, how do you think kindness can support leaders in supporting employees?
Yeah, oh gosh. So when it comes to mental health, I think it's so important.
Yes.
So when we feel unsafe, it can trigger stress hormones in our brains, which leads to a poor sense of well-being, which opens up to anxiety and depression. And then when we feel safe and supported, and by that I mean psychologically safe, so do people care about us? Do they have our backs? Do they like us, trust us? It does the opposite. So in the program that we're working on, first of all, that starts with being kind to ourselves.
Yes.
So that's going to help us as leaders with our own mental health, because when we're kind to ourselves, we can support ourselves, give ourselves what we need, which fundamentally allows us to operate at our best, makes us better leaders. And I think it's important as well to point out that, leader is not just a job title. It's a person that other people want to follow. Yes. So kindness is really critical in that too. So when leaders are role modeling all of that stuff, it allows employees to do the same. So that's from a self point of view. And then when we treat other people with kindness, it means that, at the very least, we're not making difficult situations worse. And, again, let's be clear, the last 6 months have been difficult. Yeah. So at the very least, we're not making them worse, but at the best, it's allowing people to really flourish and shine, and then creating an environment where people feel safe to talk about things before they get out of hand. So catching it really early, creating a sense of belonging, which is so important to people's mental health and well-being. And I've developed a well-being formula as well, using the acronym CALMING, which stands for connection, appreciation, learning, movement, your inner world, so mindfulness, nourishment, and giving. And so all of these things really, really can help people with their mental health.
A lot of people assume kindness is very nice and but there's more to being kind. And you explained it really lovely in your program. So I wondered if you would mind doing that again.
Of course. Yeah, for sure. So one of the things that people do get wrong when they think of kindness, and especially kindness in business, is that it is being the same as being nice, and they're really different. So nice is people pleasing, and it's avoiding conflict, and fundamentally it comes from a place of wanting to be liked, whereas kind can be direct and confronting, and it can be saying the things that people don't want to hear, but it's caring about people and showing that. So whereas niceness is politeness and smiling and saying everything is fine, kindness is being respectful of both your needs and the other person, and then treating them like adults. So adults with feelings, but adults nonetheless. And I think, I remember in my HR days, I had to do a lot of things that weren't nice. So, letting somebody know that they might not have a job is never nice. Letting people know they're not getting a pay rise or a bonus, or telling somebody no if they want to break a policy for good reason, it's not nice. So in business, often we can't be nice, and that is true, but we can always be kind. Yeah. So I think, there's that distinction. And then, again, one of the other myths is that it's really fluffy, that kindness is fluffy, and it's not. It's about doing the right thing, even when it's hard, but doing so in a way that recognizes that we're humans and we have a choice as to how we behave and how we think and how we operate. And even little things like, are we making ethical choices in the suppliers that we use? And are we paying our invoices on time? Especially if we've got smaller businesses who are our suppliers. So, that's not just nice, it's also really good business sense too. And especially in a world where we're just like one bad decision or one bad business practice or even one bad comment away from the world knowing about it on social media. Kindness isn't just nice, it's also really, really good business sense.
And actually, I was thinking about it when I was preparing for our call, and employee well-being, it sits in HR, often sits in HR. And it was kind of what people used to associate with the old-fashioned personnel role. But it's actually way up there in priority again or now. And, what steps can HR put in place so that they can support the business to be better at managing mental health and well-being?
And well-being, yeah. I think that's a really brilliant question. And I think there's another question which is either before or alongside that, which is how can we support the well-being of HR? So who's looking after HR when HR is looking after everyone else? And I really, really felt this when we went into lockdown, because one of the first things I thought was like, oh my God, I'm so glad I'm not in HR right now, because it must be really tough. And I say that with love and with respect for what HR people do, because I just thought, God, like looking after your own stuff and having to homeschool your own kids, and at the same time, everybody coming to you for answers. And I think the HR community needs to make sure, again, going back to the Bring model, that we are starting with ourselves first of all. So one of the things that I did back then was I set up like a little mastermind community with a friend for HR people so that they could support each other. So I think that's the first step, is like finding other people who are in a similar position to you and having a support network. So slight detour, but I really think we can't overlook the importance of HR fitting their own oxygen mask first, so that they can support other people. And then in terms of supporting the business with managing well-being, my honest view would be to put it back to the business. So rather than taking it under the wing of HR and making it HR's responsibility, is ask for volunteers to join a wellbeing committee or to set up a wellbeing committee or forum. And there's going to be many. I've already said there's going to be at least 1 in 4 people that struggle with their mental well-being, and people want to get involved in this kind of thing. And if you try and do that in your organization and you don't get volunteers, then that's an interesting point around the culture of that business. But what I've seen is that when HR departments have said, look, this is important to us, but it's not a HR issue, it's a business issue, who wants to come on board? They get a lot of uptake. And so then give them the ownership, get them to tell you what they need. Because HR aren't, most HR people, they're not trained counsellors. And sometimes I think people forget that, but the responsibility is all of ours. We all need to be people.
I think that's a super idea. So just to finish off, we talked about this in our program, and actually it's something that I do with my son most days. Is we talk about our random act of kindness for the day. So I mean, and we know the benefit that can have to both whoever it is you've been kind to, whatever you've done, but also to yourself. So I suppose it's twofold. What do you think quickly are the benefits? And secondly, what's your plan for a random act of kindness today? You've done that.
Sure. So the first question was, what's the benefit? So when we're kind to others, or if we even witness an act of kindness, it floods our brains with positive hormones, which make us feel good. So, and actually often when we do something kind for the people, it actually has a greater impact on the giver than the receiver. And if you think of times that you've done something kind for somebody else, that probably resonates. But as well as those hormones making us feel warm and fuzzy, they also balance our stress hormones, which make us sick. So there's a positive benefits in that self. And act of kindness for today, good question. So my act of kindness over the weekend was to switch off completely and not do any work. And this morning I have a friend who's just setting up a new business, and I pinged her a little message just to tell her how proud I was of her and how much I believed in her. And that wasn't just nice because it's all true. I really meant it, but I knew that was important to hear and will have given her a boost. And I think sometimes it is just the little small things like that. It doesn't have to be massive. It doesn't have to be going out and solving world hunger. It can just be something more like smiling at somebody in the shop or on the tube on those days that we used to get the tube.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much. Honestly, it's the kind of topic that you could talk about for a long time. So if people would like to know more about the programme or sign up, how do they get in touch with you?
So they can look at my website, which is thepeopleperson.org, and they can register there to go on the waiting list or to hear about any updates. So I'll be opening up again in January. Or just reach out to me on LinkedIn. I often post updates on there, but I genuinely do love talking to people about this stuff. So if it strikes a chord, don't be shy. Please get in touch, ping me a message, or as I say, look on the website, thepeopleperson.org, and sign up there.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. It's been great.
I look forward to seeing you very soon.
Yes.